Hi, everyone. My name is Paulus. I'm your host at GEEC Education Podcast. And today we have a very special guest. We have Michael Boud, who is a referral specialist, consultancy agency, setting up ambassador programs in the companies. Hi, Michael.
Hi there. Thank you for the
Michael,
invite.
yeah, nice to see you too. Michael fascinated me last time we spoke. It sounds like you talk to different companies, you talk to different services and universities, educators, and you learn every week. So when I spoke first to Michael, I couldn't. From the homework I did, I couldn't really understand what is the business model Michael does. But then once we've spoke, I think this is something that will create a very valuable and different session about employees recruitment, about HR processes, and we mentioned about the retention as well. So maybe let's begin with your career journey and how did you become a business owner, Michael?
Oh, wow. Well, I think in my whole career, I've only worked for somebody else for 2 years. So I think in the basis, I'm an entrepreneur. I love creating new things. But originally, I studied leisure management. And then by accident, I came into the recruitment world. Having said that, there is a common ground because recruiting people is all about being hospitable and giving people a warm feeling. With me not having any knowledge of recruitment, I created a basis of hospitality within recruitment. First, doing that from setting up my own agencies, and recruiting and selection. And then after a while, I thought, well, maybe it's also about time that I show organizations how they can recruit themselves using their own ambassadors. But we'll get into that in a minute. Um, yeah, the basis is hospitality and treating people with respect. It sounds kind of corny, but apparently it can be a unique business proposition.
Yeah, fascinating. Yeah, and hospitality is all about taking care of the people as you would expect HR to be as well. So yeah, that sounds great. Inspiration behind your business idea. Is there any particular story behind that?
Well, any in the States they say never waste a good crisis. So when the financial crisis evolved after the Lehman Brothers got into the news, I started looking at my own proposition and my vulnerability at the same time. And then I started looking at what am I really good at? Where is the future going to be within the labor market? And I found out that the secret of my success was that by treating people with respect, um, caused more than 50% of all people that I placed within companies because they were searching for people temporarily or permanent, was because people were referring candidates to us. And that made me think, okay, wow. So my network of former applicants and interim professionals, they are recommending people to me. And at the time, it didn't cost me anything, only attention and giving time, my time to them. So I thought maybe in the financial crisis where there weren't many jobs available, um, it is time that I start helping organizations to turn rejected candidates into brand ambassadors. And it sounds kind of negative, but it was more like showing organizations that look, if you have 100 applicants, because that was happening at the time, then 99 people are not going to get the job. And maybe of those 99, there are three more candidates that potentially could have also been of interest for this specific job, but the other part, not. So, what effect will it have if you will either ghost them, not send them any notification that they didn't get the job? What will happen if they are getting a standard rejection letter. So I started diving into that. And again, hospitality as the basis of treating also those people with respect. And then after a while, I noticed that there are even more ambassadors organizations can use. So I turned from external ambassadors also into internal ambassadors, and they are the most active. If you look at employees, they know so many people. They have got a really great reach. And that's when I evolved from having a recruitment agency to a consultancy agency where I'm helping organizations to create ambassador programs so that they can also recruit 40 or 50% or even more employees via their own employees.
Yeah. Brilliant. And what I like the most about what you say is that you mentioned a couple of times when we first met, and you already mentioned today that there is a big data behind it, and you care about the data and you care about success measurement. So it's not only a nice story; it's a science, in a
Absolutely.
very perfect HR sense. Cool. So introduce to us the ambassador program. What is it, and how we can imagine that to be in any organization? What we are actually talking about?
Well, maybe it's good because you mentioned the data. I've been doing a benchmark for the past 4 years in the Benelux, and I've been measuring the success of referral employee programs within organizations in the profit and non-profit sector, also within education. And what I noticed is that if an organization has some form of referral program in place, or you can call it an ambassador program, but it's got common grounds. In most occasions, they are giving a monetary bonus for a referred and hired candidate, right? The timing of the payout is in most occasions once the candidate has passed the probation period, because then management and the organization thinks it's safe to give out a bonus because the candidate is good enough within our company. However, the employee that referred this candidate already did a lot of work, right? Maybe this person shared the job online, talked about the job at a party, or maybe was looking at a sports match, um, and making people enthusiastic to apply within their organization. So the effort has already been made, but the companies are judging the quality of the candidate. However, the employee has absolutely no influence on the hiring process. So that's strange, right?
Hmm.
And you're not going to show any appreciation towards your employee that has already made an effort in trying to recruit someone, but you're only going to reward it when you know for sure the candidate is good enough. So what I wanted to know is that does it have an effect on the success of a program? And what I've noticed, if companies pay out a referral bonus, doesn't matter what height the bonus is, could be 100 euros, could be 3,000 euros. On average, if they pay it out after the probation period, companies will not generate more than 5% hires thanks to referrals. Which, okay, it's a start, but if you know my data, and if I zoom in on the real successes, and I look at, okay, which organizations generate more than 30% or even 50% or more referral hires thanks to their program, it's organization where they reward their employees in phases for the effort that they have made. So as soon as they make an effort, they show appreciation. And it can be really basic, like maybe the director giving a phone call to the employee and saying thank you, or flowers, or you can even combine it with a loyalty program where people can generate points for each effort that they make. But the basis is apparently employees, your ambassadors, appreciate it when you appreciate it when they are helping your organization. So that's really the basis of my thinking. It is not taken for granted that your employees are helping you to recruit future employees.
Yeah.
If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. It reminded me a bit of a serious message, but also a joke at the same time. I was working with one chief exec in the past, and he used to say that for motivational schemes, there is one important rule that it needs to be followed. Motivational schemes should be motivating.
Exactly.
So if your referral it's somewhere up in the cloud and that determines whether you get your bonus or not, the motivation aspect of motivational scheme could be in scrutiny, and therefore it could not be as motivating as it can be. Um, yeah.
Agree.
Yeah, for me, all this model sounds slightly familiar, but not to the extent you are talking about. We have quite a few international companies that has referral schemes inside their organizations. Yes, they pay most of the time based on success. I don't think I know anyone who pays or benefits somehow employees earlier than based on success. How is that common in Netherlands? I will reveal a secret, maybe that you are from Netherlands. GDPR breach, but when you mentioned Benelux in general, how common this is in Benelux countries?
Well, the reason why I did not do a specific country benchmark is because similarities across countries, in this case the Benelux, are so similar, it's no use. Everybody's having the same challenges. If you look at Europe, if you look at the demographics, the labor market is going to become more tight than it's ever been before. The demands of people actively looking for jobs are even higher, and the percentage of people actively looking for another job is lower than ever before. So, in order for you to reach the latent job seekers, you need the knowledge of the people that know the people that are not actively looking for a job but are open for the right opportunity. And um, assuming, uh, um, an English a phrase is assuming makes a ass out of you and me,
Yeah.
is I think really dangerous when you create a program based upon presumptions. So a lot of organizations, they think that if we give money for a referred and hired candidate, then that's going to be the secret of the success of the program. But if you start asking internally and you do a survey and you ask your employees, um, when would you help us? Would you need a monetary reward, or would you be happy with something else? Or what would work for you in order for us to recruit more people? And once you start asking those questions, especially if you look at the nonprofit and in educational world, um, if people would have wanted more money, they would have probably gone into a different sector or a more commercial sector. So you see that what they want is a freedom of choice when they are shown appreciation for their efforts. It doesn't mean that money cannot be effective, but if you cut it up into pieces and you start rewarding for phases of the efforts, then the risk the company is taking is lower, but the appreciation is given quicker. So if I, for example, share a job on LinkedIn as an employee, and people start looking at it and clicking on it, I know there are software solutions that can measure that through. And you can even make sure that based on the number of clicks you are getting, you will get extra points. So um, it's all a matter of how would your own employees feel that they are valued the most? And in most occasions, people need to be heard and listened to. And if you create a top-down program with all good means, then a lot of the times the employees will not recognize them in the solution created. And that same accounts for the type of content that is shared. The more corporate and the more top-down certain messages are or the jobs, the lesser people will share. The more authentic the messages are that you would like your employees to share, the better. It's all about authenticity. The example that I give is that if you shout in the market as an employee who wants to work in the best team ever, compared to the employer shouting in the market who wants to work for the best employer ever, then I know who I would believe. It's the employee first, and then maybe later the employer. And that really helps in a sharing economy, that you can use that to your advantage, and also accepting that your company is not perfect. Don't be afraid to tell others that your company is not perfect, because if people know that the job is great, but the manager, moi, could be better at his job, then people are more aware and prepared on what they can expect when they start working for you. And I know we've talked about retention in the past, and I know for a fact, and I'm also still measuring that, is that when people have been prepared in the right way and they know what to expect and they still want the job, the chances that they will work for your organization 4 years or longer is much higher. And to be honest, I think the challenge of keeping people on board is probably an even bigger challenge than recruiting a new employee. So it's like a win-win situation. You get um, employees who stay within your organization longer, because they're referred and their expectations are managed more perfectly. And on the other side, because you can show more appreciation as an employer to your employees, they feel more valued.
Mm.
So it works both ways, and that's why I personally call it an ambassador program, or maybe even an appreciation program, because it's all about valuing what you have and not taking it for granted.
Yeah, yeah. Makes total sense. I mean, we live in a world where feedback and recommendations and testimonials is everything. Yes, there is a lot of fake testimonials and recommendations, so that is also worth flagging. But this, what you're talking about, is in some markets a very old bread and butter. For example, universities world. Universities every single year when year one students are coming to study with them, they seek for those ambassadors that could recruit next year students, when the students maybe from abroad. That's actually how I
Exactly.
ended up in this job. My very first job was to be on open days and tell why I love the university. And like you said, there is some certain trust that, okay, you won't tell that all is perfect. Fine, no one probably expects it to be perfect. But if you are happy, if you are that positive ambassador, and you truly cared after, you will be better recruiter or better searcher than anyone, just
Absolutely.
because your the power in your word is far higher than someone's that is just doing their job, no matter how much they love. Um, so saying all of this seems like how to say, it's unusual for a private companies, but it's known in some markets. Why companies are hesitant to do it? Do you have any impressions why this is not just something that we expect in any company?
Um, it's even with companies that are using it are still afraid because they are afraid that they're spending too much money. And one of the first questions I ask both situations, companies that are not using a program and companies that are, I ask them, what does it cost you now to hire someone? Like the cost per hire. I'm not only talking about a job advert or a LinkedIn recruiter seat, I'm talking about all costs. And if they calculate that, because 95% do not know what their current costs are, you can show that when you hire people that were referred, on average, it will cost you 50% less compared to the traditional recruitment situation. So, especially in the board, it's not about, oh, I have this idea and I would like to create an ambassador program that will be good for our company. It is more a matter of, look, guys, we've always been recruiting in a traditional way. The labor market is changing. We need to reach the latent job seekers. We are not able to fulfill the jobs because we don't know who is latent, who is the latent job seeker. We need to reach people that know them. And in order to do so, we need to invest. But if we invest, we will turn our success to 30, 40, maybe even 50% higher thanks to referred and hired candidates. And we can save costs at the same time. But it's a tough one because the traditional referral programs, and I'm talking about 80% of all programs, is based upon giving a monetary reward for referred and hired candidate, and 40% of those do not pay it out until after the probation period. So that's scary, right? We're losing a lot of money. But once you do the research and you ask employees, what do you want? Then you find out that they don't necessarily need a bonus of 2,000 euros. They can be happy maybe with a gift voucher worth 100 euros.
Mm.
So it's being afraid for the unknown, and that's why the benchmark that I'm doing, and as from this year, I'm creating an international benchmark together with Real Links in London to show proof that there is even more common grounds across the borders. Um, and the facts and figures will speak for itself, and hopefully companies will become less afraid to let go and to show more appreciation and to invest in ambassador programs because it's a win-win situation on all fronts, as we discussed before. So it's not knowing, and it's presuming that it works in a certain way. But that's old school. We're talking about now. We're talking about the sharing economy. We're talking about news traveling fast and also experiences traveling fast. And we even have like the glass doors of these worlds where employees or former employees can share their experiences on how it is to work for the company. And a lot of companies, they are scared. They're afraid. They are afraid that people are being too honest. And I think you should let go more. And also when it comes to your employer brand, the marketing communications want to control the brand. And I say, well, don't control it. The brand are the people. And the more you let go, the more authentic the messages are that they will share, indirect and direct on behalf of you. Answer to your question a bit longer, but
Mhm.
it's not knowing what kind of success it can generate because they feel it's only to recruit people. but it's more than that. It's positioning your employer brand in a very authentic way, and that people start sharing the word in the market that you are a really great company to work for.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. You mentioned brand advocacy and brand image in general. I guess this is a bit of a question of a chicken and a egg. You know, who came first? Do you need a positive brand to be able to use these schemes, ambassador schemes effectively? Or do you create these schemes first and that will create positive brand as a result?
It's a bit of both. The basis is if your employees are not happy, then first work on making them more happy, right? Because otherwise they're not going to recommend your company, no matter how much effort you put into it and how much rewards you will give. So the basis is happy employees are potential ambassadors. And then it's a matter of making it really easy for them to participate and to help in the program, making it more fun, um, campaigning continuously. So it's not a matter of saying via email on the intranet. It's like, hi guys, we have a program. You will receive €1,000 for a referred and hired candidate. Good luck.
Yeah.
It's selling your program continuously. And with selling, I don't mean it being commercial, but it's all about creating authentic messages, facilitating it, making it easy to share. And that's why a lot of companies underestimate how much time and effort you need to put into it to continuously promote the program to make it a continuous success and not a success of a year. And then after the year, it goes down because it's not being nurtured.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. Do you, from your own experience, do you think such a scheme or program requires a separate, dedicated person or department, or could it be dealt by regular recruiters? And the reason why I'm asking this is because does it require any different competences, or is it still, you would say it's still part of a recruitment process, just in a just have a very specific twist?
Well, if they have me on their side, they don't need extra specialism. No, just joking. Um, I think if the person that wants this and is trying to sell it in the organization and trying to get the budget and the finances to create the right program, then this person can read benchmarks, can get some expertise here and there. There are many business cases available worldwide. So doing the research and externally, but also internally, as I mentioned before, and making sure that you listen really well to your employees, and continuously measuring it and learning by doing. So it's not about it's live, and this is how it's done. No, you will find out that after being live, you will still need to tweak it and make changes. But answer to your question, if I look at companies, international companies, but also smaller companies, the ones that generate 50 or 50% more hires thanks to referrals, it is always when there is one person fully dedicated to the program and not part-time and not a couple of hours a day, full-time. It is like the PR person of the program. And you mentioned recruitment. Yes, the recruitment department is responsible for recruiting new people, but in this market, recruitment cannot do it alone. So if the job holders, the management, are not actively involved and being made co-responsible for the whole process and the ambassadorship, because they have the important role to stimulate and to make employees in their team enthusiastic to help and to join the program. It's not something recruitment can do on its own, and that's why I mean is that if you have one recruiter doing this full time, then it's manageable, and in collaboration with marketing communication, because you need to create a campaign to sell the program, but also to create nice content, which is great to share, and employees will share more often than, for example, a boring job advert.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Fantastic. Okay, I guess the next step is, if we are convinced that this is a way forward, how to convince the leadership. Do you have any advice to give to fellow HR people on how this could be uh, pitched to the senior leadership?
First of all, the comparison that I make, if you don't know your current cost per hire, calculated, you can Google it, you can ask ChatGPT, or you can ask me, and I can give you a list of things that you should include to calculate the cost per hire. That's one. I know for a fact that recruiting via your ambassador program or referral program, or whichever name you want to give it, is 50% cheaper than traditional recruitment. So on the first place, it's you need an investment to create savings, right? That's one. Secondly, and especially if you look at leaderships programs or leaders at the moment, they're really searching, because the CEO or the director or the manager is being looked at quite carefully. So this person needs all the help that they can get to strengthen their leadership. So if your own employees are supporting the leader and being enthusiastic about the leader or about the employer, that helps them to get a better position in the market, and not only as an employer, but also as a brand, right? So there's a win-win situation. And then, of course, in this labor market, where there is a war for talent, you need the knowledge of people in their network that know that people are latently looking for another job. And so the business case for me, it's quite clear. It's quite complex for an average recruiter to sell it internally, because they're quite scared in convincing the board. I've helped many organizations to create a good business case, that it is really clear why they should do it. But it's there is many disciplines involved, so it's not only the board, it's not only HR, it's not only recruitment, it's also marketing communication. It's even IT if you create an infrastructure to support your program. So it's easier said than done, but definitely not impossible, as long as you use the facts and figures, and they will speak for itself.
Brilliant. Cool. So just to wrap up our just over half an hour chat, um, give a final advice to the listeners, how they can start, or what they should do. What is your freebie for them to take away?
I think start small, right? And yes, aim for big. But if you start small and you start looking at employees or people in your organization who you know are sort of an ambassador already, and then move forward from there. Start asking people, doing the survey internally, and then it will create a certain basis. And then third, and I will do that for free. You can always call me or send me an invitation for a video call, and I will spend an hour of my time to give you some more insights how you can do it.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's been a great pleasure, and yeah, to the listeners, we are able to bring Michael over to you and to connect you to Michael to explore these brilliant schemes that could help you in this very challenging and perhaps is going to be even more challenging, in this job market. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for joining us for a Geek Education podcast, and until next time.
Thank you, Paulis, for the
Thank
invite.
you.
Loved it.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.